think you know what hides in the dark. You think vampires are just stories. But human fear is older than fiction. And every nightmare has a bloodline. Tonight, we journey into the shadows of history to uncover the true legends of the undead. From the cobblestone streets of plague-ridden Europe to the deepest jungles of the ancient world, they have always been watching us, waiting for the sun to set. Long before Dracula, the cradle of civilization birthed the very first blood drinkers in the desert sands. The Sumerians feared the Lilitu, demonic predators of the night that hunted the innocent, and the Ekimu, restless, violent souls denied a proper burial, returning to drain the living. In the temples of Egypt, the fierce lioness goddess Sekhmet demanded blood as her ultimate tribute. If the spirits of the dead were not fed, they would rise from their tombs to feast on the living. Ancient Greece warned of the Lamia, a serpent woman whose beauty masked a terrible, ravenous hunger. And the Empusa, shapeshifters with hooves of bronze, seducing mortals before tearing out their throats. Rome whispered of the Strix, bird-like horrors that descended in the dead of night to consume human flesh. But the true terror, the plague of the undead, erupted in the remote villages of Eastern Europe. In the 18th century, a great hysteria swept through the continent. A genuine vampire epidemic. Villagers, terrified of the returning dead, began digging up graves to stop the slaughter. Heavy stones were rolled onto coffins, pinning the corpses down so they could never walk again. But the earth still cracked. The Slavic Upir was said to claw its way out of the mud, hungry for family blood. It wasn't a sophisticated count. It was a bloated, rotting corpse, driven only by an animalistic need to feed. In Transylvania, the legacy of Vlad the Impaler soaked the earth in blood and terror. He impaled thousands of his enemies, a warning to any who dared cross the son of the dragon. Rumors spread that he dipped his bread in the blood of his victims, a true monster in human flesh. Meanwhile, Countess Elizabeth Bathory of Hungary sought eternal youth through unspeakable cruelty. The Romanian Strigoi were straightforward gluttons. They would eat the village's food, then drink the blood of the starving. They were shapeshifters, taking the form of wolves to stalk the freezing Carpathian mountains. But Europe doesn't hold the monopoly on nightmares. The East has its own terrifying legends. In China, dark sorcery reanimated the Jiangshi, the stiff, hopping corpses of those buried far from home. Blind and decaying, they track the breath of the living, absorbing their vital life force, their qi. With greenish, furry skin and elongated, razor-sharp claws, they are a terrifying sight in the misty forests. Across the sea, Japanese folklore speaks of spirits and demons that thirst for the warmth of human blood. In the remote islands of the Philippines, a completely different horror stalks the night sky. The aswang and the dreaded manananggang, a creature that severs its own body in half. Sprouting massive bat wings, the upper torso takes flight, leaving its vulnerable legs hidden in the jungle. It hovers over thatched roofs, dropping a thread-like tongue to suck the blood of sleeping victims. Malaysia fears the Penanggalan, a woman who mastered dark magic in a vat of vinegar. At night, her fanged head detaches entirely, flying through the trees with her glowing intestines trailing behind. Thailand tells of the Krasu, a beautiful woman cursed to live as a floating, bloodthirsty apparition. Driven by insatiable gluttony, she hunts the riverbanks, glowing with a sickly, supernatural light. In India, ancient Sanskrit texts warn of the cremation grounds, where the smoke of the dead rises. Here, the Vitala hangs upside down from the banyan trees, a ghoul possessing the bodies of the dead. The Rakshasa illusions twist reality, shifting their faces to lure weary travelers into the ruins, while the Pishacha, spirits of the insane, haunt the battlefields to feast upon the fallen flesh. Journey deep into the heart of African mythology, where the jungle canopy hides a lethal ambush. The Ashanti people know to look up, to watch out for the Asanbosam. With iron teeth and hook-like feet, it hangs silently from the branches, snatching prey from the forest floor. In Ghana, the ads disguise themselves as simple, glowing fireflies buzzing in the humid air. But once inside your home, they shift into terrifying humanoids, drinking the blood of the young. The Obiafo witches glow in the dark, dealing death and disease rather than giving life. South America holds ancient winged terrors in its misty, mountainous forests. The Mapuche people of Chile warn of the Puchen, a gigantic, shape-shifting flying snake. It paralyzes its victims with a haunting whistle before draining the blood of livestock and men. In the arid deserts of Mexico, ancient spirits demand a heavy toll. The Aztec Chihuateteo, skeletal women who died in childbirth, return on specific days as terrifying entities.
Keep rolling,
and the
keep
infamous
rolling.
Chupacabra, a modern legend of a spined alien beast
God, it's fast.
that drains
Did you see the
blood
spikes?
of the herd. Tlahuelpuchi witches transform into vultures, soaring over rooftops to quench their nocturnal thirst. Even the romanticized Celtic lands are stained with the lore of the blood drinkers. In Ireland, the Derek Dhu, the red bloodsucker, was a woman forced into a cruel marriage. Driven to suicide, her spirit was so filled with rage that she clawed her way back from the grave. She sought vengeance on her father and husband, draining every drop of blood from their twisted bodies. In the wild Scottish Highlands, hunters are warned never to invite women to their fires at night. The Bouban Sea appear as beautiful dancers in green dresses, enchanting the lonely man. But beneath their hems lie the cloven hooves of deer, a sure sign of the fairy predator. They do not possess fangs. Instead, they use elongated, razor-sharp talons to tear flesh and drink. In northern Germany, a deeply disturbing superstition gripped the 16th century. The Nachtjäger, or after-devourer, did not leave its grave to hunt the living. Instead, it stayed in the dirt, gnawing on its own burial shroud, spiritually draining the life of its family above. But how did these terrifying myths begin? What fueled the hysteria of the undead? The answer often lies not in magic, but in the tragic, misunderstood ravages of disease. Tuberculosis, known as consumption, caused victims to slowly waste away, coughing up blood. Desperate New Englanders in the 1800s believed the first to die were feeding on the survivors from the grave. Mercy Brown of Rhode Island was exhumed, her preserved heart burned to ashes in a desperate cure. Panic drove them to mix the ashes with water, forcing the sick to drink the remains of the dead. Other medical nightmares birthed the vampire myth, diseases that baffled early science. Porphyria caused severe sensitivity to sunlight, blistering the skin and staining the teeth reddish-brown. Rabies, spread by the bite of wolves and bats, induced madness, aggression, and a terror of water. To the uneducated villager, a victim of rabies foaming at the mouth looked exactly like a demon. The vampire was humanity's way of explaining the unexplainable, a face to put on death itself. But as science advanced, the vampire retreated from the graveyard and entered the library. In 1819, John Polidori wrote The Vampire, transforming the rotting corpse into a suave aristocrat. Then came Carmilla, a gothic tale of seductive obsession and lethal supernatural romance. But it was Bram Stoker in 1897 who codified the legend forever with the immortal Count Dracula. fusing
Drive on,
Eastern European
faster!
folklore with
The
Victorian
wolves are too
anxieties.
close!
Dracula became the ultimate apex predator. The pale skin, the castle, the vulnerability to sunlight. These were the inventions of writers. They gave the monster a cape, a charming smile, and an eternal, melancholic loneliness. The vampire evolved from a mindless, plague-spreading ghoul into a tragic, romantic anti-hero. Today, the myth lives on in our movies, our books, and our urban legends. The modern vampire stalks the neon-lit streets of the city, hiding in plain sight among the crowds. They are a reflection of our deepest fears, our hidden desires, and our fascination with immortality. We created them to understand death, and now we cannot let them go. In the underground lairs of our imagination, the war between the living and the dead rages on. The vampire hunters arm themselves with silver, with wooden stakes, with ancient holy relics. The old rules still apply. A stake through the heart, decapitation, or the purifying fire of the sun. Because deep down, beneath our modern technology, we still remember the terror of the dark. We still look over our shoulders when the wind howls through the trees. The legend is universal. Every continent, every culture, every era has its blood drinker. Whether it hops through a bamboo forest, detaches its head in the jungle, or sleeps in a velvet coffin, the hunger is always the same. The thirst for life. They are the anti-mothers, the death dealers, the shadows that refuse to fade. They are the ultimate survivors, adapting to every century, evolving with every generation. From the clay tablets of Babylon to the streaming screens of today. So the next time you hear a scratch at your window in the dead of night, or see a figure standing perfectly still under a broken street lamp, ask yourself, is it just an overactive imagination? Or is the folklore finally catching up to you? For thousands of years, humanity has locked its doors and prayed for the dawn. But the sun always sets, and the shadows always return. The bloodlines of the night are ancient, resilient, and eternally patient. The myth is written in our history. It is written in our blood. And as long as there is darkness, the vampire will never truly die. They will continue to shapeshift, to enchant, and to terrify us. A dark mirror reflecting our own mortality back at us. The grave cannot hold them. The centuries cannot erase them. So keep your garlic close and your silver closer, because the night is long and the true monsters are rarely what you expect. Welcome to the world of the undead, a world where myth and reality blur into a terrifying nightmare. Will you survive the night? Or will you join the ranks of the immortal? The choice is rarely yours to make, because once you invite them in, there is no turning back. They are the lords of the dark, the kings of the shadows, and their thirst is unquenchable. So sleep well tonight, if you can. And remember the stories your ancestors told around the fire. They weren't just trying to scare you, they were trying to warn you. If you survived this journey into the darkness, congratulations. But there are more nightmares waiting to be unearthed. More legends hidden in the dusty pages of history.
Curious?
If you crave the thrill of the unknown, don't face the dark alone. Subscribe to our channel. Leave a like if your blood runs cold. And tell us in the comments, what monster should we hunt next?